When James Cameron stepped onto the stage to accept the Academy Award for Best Picture in 1998 for Titanic, he raised his arms high and let out a triumphant shout. At that time, despite his renown for The Terminator and Aliens, the media still perceived him as arrogant. However, Cameron eventually shattered all doubts and criticism with the release of Avatar and Avatar: The Way of Water, which together earned over $5.2 billion globally, alongside numerous cinematic accolades. It is no exaggeration to state that this is one of the most successful franchises of all time. Continuing directly from the unresolved narrative of the second installment, the next chapter, titled Avatar: Fire and Ash, has officially hit theaters, promising to be a blockbuster capable of creating a seismic shift at box offices worldwide. Whether Avatar: Fire and Ash is truly as exceptional as rumored, and what story James Cameron intends to tell us in this installment, are questions we shall explore in today's video. The story commences immediately after the death of the eldest son Neytiri, as the Sully family shows signs of fracturing, while struggling to overcome the grief of their loss. Neytiri prays constantly, while Jake, though silent, is clearly consumed by a burning rage. Loak, the second son, fares no better, tormented by persistent guilt. Setting those burdens aside, the greatest concern for Jake's family stems from Spider, the son of Colonel Miles Quaritch. With the brutal colonel still alive, Spider remains a metaphorical ticking time bomb. They live in constant anxiety that Quaritch will one day return to reclaim his son. Consequently, they attempt to isolate Spider by sending him to the research base. And the complications begin when the family accidentally encounters the Ash people. If there is one word to describe Avatar: Fire and Ash, perhaps safe is the most fitting. Indeed, the third installment shares many similarities with the previous two films. It would not be incorrect to suggest that the final battle is a blend of the climaxes from parts 1 and 2. However, while the content is familiar and lacks major breakthroughs, the film still possesses the necessary elements to feel complete and engaging without becoming tedious. First, a hallmark of the Avatar brand is that fantasy elements and visuals are always the top priority. In this regard, Fire and Ash performs as well as its predecessors, and arguably even better. The film proves that James Cameron's aesthetic remains unique. He continues to expand the world of Pandora with diverse, beautiful creatures that leave audiences in awe. From lush forests stretching to the horizon and vast oceans to clear skies and volcanic regions bathed in shades of gray, the battles can only be described as perfect. There is not a single flawed scene in the entire movie, making it fair to characterize Avatar: Fire and Ash as a sumptuous and visually stunning feast. Additionally, this installment introduces two more Na'vi tribes, the Tlalim, Wind Traders, and the Chamaquan, Ash people. Unlike the forest-dwelling Omaticaya or the reef-dwelling Metkayina, the Tlalim are merchants. Utilizing massive hot air balloons, they travel across Pandora trading essential goods. In contrast, the Chamaquan are aggressive raiders who lie in wait to attack travelers. However, racial diversity and top-tier visual effects alone are insufficient to create a great work. A film requires a high-quality antagonist capable of pushing the protagonist to the brink. This is where we meet Varang, the leader of the Ash people. A powerful and exceptionally brutal female warrior, Varang leads her tribe in numerous acts of tyranny. She claims her homeland was destroyed by a volcanic eruption, yet the Great Mother Awa did nothing to intervene. Consequently, she and her tribe refuse to worship Awa. They have become fierce marauders, surviving through plunder and finding pleasure in killing. To me, Varang's presence makes this Avatar installment significantly more compelling. Not only does she share the antagonist role with Colonel Miles Quaritch, the central villain of the first two films, but she also contributes to the vast expansion of the fantastical world on Pandora. Through Varang, The film explores more diverse aspects of Na'vi culture, beliefs, and worldviews, laying the foundation for deeper conflicts that go beyond the familiar struggle between humans and nature. The pacing has also been ramped up considerably. While The Way of Water impressed audiences with its slow but steady storytelling that built strong character bonds, Fire and Ash is the polar opposite. The tempo is far more urgent and violent, as characters are constantly thrust into desperate situations that force them to fight for survival. This produces a striking effect, particularly highlighting the savage nature of the Ash people. They are willing to do anything for self-gratification, even utilizing RDA weaponry to bolster their strength. For the Ash people and Varang specifically, satisfaction only comes through destruction and incineration. This cruelty puts Jake and his family in heart-stopping danger. I truly appreciate how director James Cameron developed Varang's character. To survive the volcanic disaster, she led her tribe through famine. To others, she may be a mere gang leader, but to the Ash people, Varang is a powerful warrior and a spiritual guide. Therefore, when Varang joins forces with Colonel Quaritch to hunt Jake, where two evils intertwine, it becomes the film's greatest highlight. Nonetheless, both Varang and Miles seem to lose momentum as the film approaches its conclusion. Varang, despite being established as a warrior with superior combat skills and the ability to control minds via the Tsahelu connection, is defeated quite easily. Meanwhile, Colonel Quaritch repeatedly hesitates in decisive moments, lacking the brutality so well established in the first film, which makes the plot somewhat predictable. There is also a surplus of secondary characters, most notably General Ardmore. While she exists to share the antagonist burden with the Colonel, 2 films have passed without her doing anything significant beyond empty threats. That said, Avatar has never been known for profound depth or complex character development. The core of the series has always been the grand visual experience and the sense of overwhelm it provides on the big screen. For this reason, Avatar is frequently ranked among the greatest cinematic spectacles in film history. If you are looking for an engaging, eye-popping experience that isn't too heavy on ideological themes, Avatar: Fire and Ash perfectly fits the bill. The core strength of the franchise lies in its ability to immerse the audience in a magical world rather than telling a complex story. Speaking to the press, the 71-year-old director shared that Fire and Ash focuses on 2 major themes, the fire of hatred and the ashes of grief, stating that both are equally fierce and can destroy us in many ways. First, I want to mention Neytiri. Since humanity arrived on Pandora, everything familiar to her has disappeared. First, her sister Silwinin was killed by soldiers at Grace's school. Years later, she watched her father die during the first human invasion. Now, she has lost not only her forest and her pride, but also the child she loved dearly. The fire of hatred in her heart burns brightly, ready to consume everything around her. In the moment, Neytiri shouts at her husband, saying she hates humans so much that she even loathes the human part within him. It is like a knife to Jake's heart, and the fire of hatred spreads. They constantly blame and criticize those around them. At one point, Jake even contemplates something truly horrific, illustrating how one person's hatred is enough to burn down the world. As for Jake, this film places him in his most ironic position since the first installment, as he must constantly make decisive choices, maintain his mercy, or succumb to hatred and violence. Jake no longer runs, he stands to face his destiny. Once again, he becomes the Torok Makto, the legendary rider of the Torok, uniting the tribes against human tyranny. Jake's journey is no longer just a standard war, he has become a symbol leading the Na'vi to victory. However, what truly surprised me was that James Cameron did not focus the lens entirely on Jake or Neytiri. While Jake was the narrator of the first 2 films, Loak takes on that role in this chapter. From the perspective of a teenager, Loak tells the story of his parents, the resistance, and the wrong choices that no longer fit the era, breathing a powerful new life into the series. Furthermore, I can reveal that Kiri and Spider play very significant roles. In Part 2, Spider had little impact on the plot, beyond helping Miles learn Navi ways. In the third part, Spider receives much more screen time, allowing us to understand him better. As for Kiri, the mystery of her conception is finally answered, and she serves as a vital factor in the final battle. In reality, The Way of Water and Fire and Ash were originally one continuous story. During the writing process, Cameron realized there were too many ideas and characters to fit into a single film, so he split them into two. This explains why The Way of Water possessed a slower pace, while Fire and Ash is fast-paced with relentless action. It turns out the second film was merely the groundwork for the director to prepare for a larger, more complete picture in the third. Despite a few flaws, the film remains strangely captivating. It takes us from one surprise to another, showcasing the raw beauty of Pandora, before leaving us speechless at the ever-expanding scale of the battles.